Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Surf Zone with Cate Hawthorne. My name is Melissa DeMarie, and I'll be your host for this show. I am really excited to welcome Cate back to our webinar series. Cate, for those of you who don't know, is a phenomenal paddler. She's a sea kayaker, surf kayaker, whitewater paddler. She is an extraordinary teacher and one of the owners of Liquid Fusion Kayaking in Mendocino. And today she is going to chat with us a little bit about the Surf Zone and what to do, where to go, how to have fun, and how to be safe out there. So Cate, I would love to welcome you back. I'm super excited you're here. Maybe before you get started, you could just tell us all a little bit about yourself. For those of you that don't know you super well. But anyways, Cate, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks, Melissa, for having me. This has been a super fun series, and welcome everyone who's joining us. Some of you for the first time, and some of you have been with us for a few of these sessions. I'm addicted to surf. That's, you know, I don't know, is this a 12-step program or something? But so a little bit about me. I am a teacher and I'm a kayak instructor. And my partner Jeff and I run Liquid Fusion Kayaking on the Mendocino coast of California. We teach sea, whitewater river, and surf kayaking. And the Surf Zone is probably one of my favorite places to teach. I love all the different dynamics of it. And it's one of my favorite places to play as well. So I'm really excited to be sharing with you today some tips and tricks for the surf.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Cate. And so for everyone that's here, and if you haven't been to one of our webinars yet, the way we sort of organize this is Cate's gonna go through her presentation. She's gonna give us all sorts of fabulous information, and we're gonna open it up to a question and answer session after she's finished. So you all will be on mute just during the duration of her presentation. But if you do have questions while she's speaking, I do encourage you to put those questions, go ahead and put them into the chat. And so once she's finished her presentation, we'll go through them, we'll moderate and give everyone a chance to chat with Cate. Sound good? All right, so Cate, I'm gonna pass the mic off to you, and then so let us know when you're ready for some questions.
All right, awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
So to start the presentation today, before I really get rolling, if you can grab a paddle, get it handy, because today the presentation is going to involve some interaction. Oh, I see we've got some Greenland paddlers, awesome. Cool. And you're going to have to be patient with me. With this presentation, I'm going to flip back and forth between the live screen and then my presentation screen. The good news for you is that gives you some think time when I'm back and forth between those screens and learning this new means of technology. So just a moment, let me pull up my presentation screen. Here we go. So in our audience, I know we've got sea kayakers, we've got whitewater kayakers, and we have surf kayakers, and you've got some folks that do it all. And I'm excited to present to you, as I developed today's presentation, I really worked to develop techniques and skills that would work for across the disciplines. So whether you're in a longboat, a 17-foot sea kayak, or you're in a little short playboat, a 5.5-foot whitewater kayak, or a surf kayak, these skills that I'm going to present today will work for any of those craft. And I encourage you, when you get a chance to get out in the water, to give them a whirl. My goals for today is, number one, I want you to have fun with the presentation. I want to have fun with the presentation. And then also some skill building and some references for the future. At the end of the presentation, I'll give you some references, and then also when the presentation's over, you'll get an email in a day or so from Melissa with a link to the presentation. So if you want to watch it again, you can watch it again. So don't worry about taking notes during the presentation. You'll get to see this all again. And then also you'll have it as a resource for future Surf Zone trainings. So to start us off, I thought I'd share a picture of the back of my car. And this is my quiver for a day of going to play in the surf. I have a couple girlfriends. We're called the Tres Hermanos, the three sisters. And we actively text each other the morning surf reports as we head to our various venues of work. And hopefully we get to meet up and we go play. And we play in a variety of craft, whether it's a surfboard, a boogie board you see there, I'll take my playboat or my surf boat. And encouraging you that as you play in the surf to step outside your box. If a sea kayak is your usual toy for playing in the surf, I encourage you to next time maybe grab a boogie board and head out there, or grab a whitewater kayak, something different, and experience a different realm of the surf. I like it because it gives me options too. I can get to the beach and I see those perfect spilling waves. I'm taking my surf boat out and I'm going to shred on the sea. Maybe the waves are really small. I might just take my boogie board out and go bounce around and get a fun swimming workout in, but still getting that stoke of the surf. So I encourage you to find all ways possible to enjoy the surf. Topics for today, just so you have an idea where we're going, are going to hit on etiquette, safety, launching, paddling out, catching a wave, surfing, wipeouts, and then some resources. No, we're not going to be here all evening. It's going to be probably about a 45-minute presentation here. I'm going to hit on one piece of each of these that I think is really important. When I teach Surf Zone lessons, sometimes it's a private lesson and it's 2-3 hours. And then sometimes my Surf Zone clinics are 2 days, or we do Surf Zone camp that's 5 days long. I view surfing as a lifetime sport. There's tons to learn, and you're not going to learn it all in this 45-minute presentation. So that's not my goal. My goal is to touch on some things. And my goal is for those of you that are just beginning or novices to give you some good nuggets that you can take out there in your next session, or if you're going to work with an instructor to learn from. And then some of you are instructors. So I'm hoping to share some of my teaching techniques with you. And then some of you that are accomplished surf kayakers, maybe you'll pick up a few nuggets as well. As Melissa said, we'll have a question and answer at the end, and I look forward to some of your questions. So rolling right in, etiquette. I've been in the surf zone and people said, oh no, here come those out of control kayakers. And I cringe when I hear that, but the reality is that's the truth a lot of times. Kayakers are notorious for going in the surf zone and not necessarily knowing the rules of the road. So I encourage you, if you are a beginning surf kayaker, to view it kind of like you're a student driver. And to get out there and learn those rules of the road, you need to go out with a mentor. Could be instructor, could be another fellow kayaker, somebody who's going to help you learn those rules of the road. And some other resources, you'll see I mentioned there the Bill of Lefts and Rights. I'll put a link to this at the end of the presentation. Surfline.com has some excellent information on etiquette and knowing how to drive out there, how to behave in the surf. It goes a long ways to being accepted out there, and then also it's for everybody else's safety and fun. Another point I'd like to just mention is be a good ambassador. People look at me with my surf kayak and they want to know, they have questions. And so I just have a nice smile on my face, and that often invites the questions to come. They'll be like, whoa, what's that surf canoe you got there? And I show them the fins and they just, whoa, that's really cool. So what are you doing? Do you fish out of that? No, I don't fish out of my surf kayak, but I smile and answer their questions, and it really goes a long ways, and it comes around and people will be excited about it. And you never know, you might inspire someone else to get out there and have fun with it as well. Safety is paramount, and when we're out on the water, awareness, looking, being aware, who's out there, what's out there. And then when we're out there playing, I encourage people, you know, kayakers often don't mix well with others. And some of that is because these unwieldy craft can run into boogie boarders, other surfers, other kayakers. So avoiding collisions while we're out there. And then for a personal safety, we hear about shoulders and shoulder injuries a lot. So really making sure we're protecting those shoulders. And I'm going to give you a couple tips for that in just a moment. Along those lines, I find that posture is very critical. Often when I see people who are surf kayaking for the first time or getting out in their sea kayaks for the first time, I see them leaning back. And I'm going to encourage you to have good posture. Those of you that have played other sports can maybe identify like skiing, or let's say you've played soccer or basketball or tennis, and being on the balls of your feet in that ready position. Well, the same goes for kayaking and having that good posture, sitting upright and ready to perform. Edge control. So looking at this photo right here, we're gonna talk about this for just a moment. I'm gonna show you some slides, and then we're gonna get those paddles out and we're gonna work on some of these techniques for what we can do at home. So edge control. When we're surfing, we wanna be mindful of our edges. And one of the things we keep in mind is keeping that shoreside edge up. Oh, it's a mouthful, isn't it? Let me get onto another screen and see if we can see what that looks like a little bit better. So what happens is, as we're riding a wave, dropping in on a wave, or maybe even being side surfed towards shore, what we want to do is weight that wave side sit bone. So that's creating an edge in our kayak, and it's letting the water go underneath, and it's preventing that water from tripping us. You may have heard the expression window shading. It's when that shoreside edge catches and you go tumbling, tumbling, tumbling. So we're going to talk about edge control and work on edge control so we can prevent that from happening. So to do that, what we're doing is we're weighting the wave side sit bone. And I know that's a mouthful. Practice that in just a moment. So as we're weighting that wave side sit bone, that we're preparing to moon the beach and brace. So for our practice exercise, you'll be grabbing your paddles in just a moment. We're going to work on the posture. We're going to work on edge control, weighting that wave side edge, and then having a good shoulder safe high brace. So we're going to jump out of my screens for a moment. Whoops. And grab your paddle. So I'm sitting on the floor. It might work for you to sit on the floor. It might work for you sitting on your couch. I find the floor is going to be the best for me to demonstrate for you. And again, if you don't want to do it, I encourage you to do it now because it's more fun if we're all doing it. So first of all, we're going to talk about posture. I'm facing you and I'm sitting in my kayak. My feet are in good contact with those foot braces. I'm going to slide to the rotate so you can see what it looks like from the side. My hips, my shoulders are all in alignment. I'm sitting up nice and straight and tall in my kayak. Mention you see people who will do this in kayaks and in surfing. And the problem with this is it decreases your ability to control your boat. Sit up nice and straight. Those of you that are doing this with me, get on top of those sit bones. And think about if you're playing sports, that ready position and how you're on the balls of your feet. Well, I'm on the balls of my feet and the balls of my sit bones right now, ready to react and ready to play with that surf. So in this nice, straight, upright position. We'll talk about bracing in a moment, but this is a good position from which I can brace and where I can react to what the waves and the ocean are giving me. So posture, we're sitting up nice and straight and tall. Got the weight right over our sit bones, good contact with our feet. Now, when we're surfing or when we end up sideways to the wave, we need to think about keeping that shoreside edge up so that it doesn't trip us. So right now we're going to pretend that this is the shore, this is the beach, and this side, this is the wave. So what I want to do is engage the wave side sit bone. This is what it looks like. I'll relax for a moment. And I'll show it to you from the side. You can see here, there's air underneath my right butt cheek. And that's because I've shifted the weight onto that left one, which is on the wave side. So here we've got the wave side. Shifting my weight onto the wave side sit bone. So that's what we're doing for edge control in our kayaks. Now, as soon as I drop down onto the shore side sit bone, there's that chance that that water is going to catch and it's going to trip me and I'm going to go tumbling. So we're working on that wave side sit bone. That's kind of a mouthful, I know. Now, the next piece to this, so we've got good posture, focusing on that edge transfer to the wave side sit bone, and then when we end up sideways to the wave, we often need to engage our brace. So what we're often using is a high brace, and you notice the position of my elbows. So really making sure I think about that elbow being attached with Velcro to the side of my life jacket. Boom, it's in there. And as soon as it starts to stray away, I'm pulling it back in. So as the wave is pushing me towards shore, what I'm doing is good posture, edging, putting that weight on the wave side sit bone. And then I have my paddle on top of the water and using it as a brace. Those of you that have played in the surf before know that it's not always perfect. You don't just, hi, sit there, ride along towards shore. It's often a little bit of a bumpy ride. And as we're going, you're playing with that weight a little bit in your sit bones and you're shifting with your brace a little bit, keeping it on top of that foam pile. Think about shock absorbers in your car or on your mountain bike and how they work to cushion the ride when you're on a bumpy road. It's the same thing within the surf, especially when you're getting into that side surf position and getting bounced along, is being flexible and having a little bit of give in those hips. But again, not dropping that side entirely, because that's when maybe we're gonna end up with that wipeout, which we'll talk about later in our session. Oh. Okay. So to review there, posture, sitting up straight, edge control, weighting the wave side sit bone. Sometimes people refer to that as mooning the beach. So you're showing that butt cheek or showing that hull, like in the photo here, to the beach. And then making sure those shoulders are safe, keeping those elbows tucked and in when you're using that high brace. If you've got questions about this, go ahead. You can pop them in the chat and we will answer them shortly. Okay, it's quiz time. I'm going to show you a short video, and this is for launching through the surf. I'm going to show you 3 examples. Example 1, example 2, and example 3. And as you watch this video, what I want you to do is analyze which one looks like the most efficient way for launching out into the surf. Example 1, example 2, example 3. Here we go. This is example 1. Number 2. And this is number 3. Okay, well, I admit, well, you saw me in the video. I've done all 3. I know you've probably done all 3 at some point in time, and you see people do all 3. But looking at that video, the most efficient way for launching is version number 3. It's not the only way to launch, but of those 3 examples, it is the most efficient way. And I'll give you a little bit of feedback or insight why, and also equipment-wise. So when you've got your paddle, and you know, our paddles are pretty strong, but they do break. It's so we try not to stress them or try to stress them as little as possible. The problem with example 1 and example 2 is there was a lot of torquing going on that paddle, and it wasn't paddle torque in water, that was paddle torque on the sand. And time after time, that just wears on your paddles and could potentially create a fatigue point. We're also about looking good when we're out there and looking smooth and cool. And so I've found that this is a way to put less stress on my paddle blade and also look a little bit smoother when I'm launching. A couple tips for launching is taking your time, wait for your window to go out there, let the water roll up to you and then go out with it. And sometimes we put our kayaks down, we get our spray skirt on, and just the water is not there. It washed up there 2 minutes ago, but it's not there. But being patient, if the tide's coming in, still waiting for that water to wash up, or maybe getting out and resetting, but being patient, work with that water. And then the technique that I showed you, we refer to as the paddle scooch. I'll show you the points of the paddle scooch. Oh. Here are the key points. You'll be grabbing your paddle in just a moment and doing it with me. Is sliding your hand down on that paddle shaft towards the blade, putting the paddle parallel to the kayak. So look at the picture there. That'll give you a good image of the paddle parallel to the kayak. The left side you can't see right now. We'll practice that in a moment, but basically you're putting your knuckles down and then scooching. So here we go. I'm gonna flip the screen. Give you a chance if you want to hop on the floor or grab your paddle, and we'll try the poodle scooch. So first thing I'm doing is I'm getting this paddle and I'm putting it, choking down on it, putting my hand towards the blade. Of course, if we're at the beach, hopefully we'll have a couple inches of that paddle will be in the sand, but so we're choked up on the paddle. The paddle is parallel. So if we're in our kayaks, it's parallel. It's not perpendicular, but it's parallel. The other hand, you're making a fist and you're putting that fist on the ground next to you. You can do it with an open hand, but I've found that it kind of strains my hand and my wrist muscles. That's just personal preference. So I found that I like the fist and doing it on my knuckles. So I've got a good purchase. Now I'm gonna wait for some of that water to come my way. As soon as that water starts to come underneath my kayak and starts to lift my boat up just a little bit, I'm gonna push down on my paddle and on my fist and scooch forward. So here goes. Okay, if you're doing it in the audience, do it with me. So scooch, pushing down on that paddle blade, pushing on those knuckles, and that's our scooch. And as soon as we're floating, using shallow strokes. So shallow strokes until you can get out there into the deeper water and taking deeper strokes. Okay. So we're going to go back to the screen share there. So again, those are the key points. Got choking down on the shaft towards the blade, putting that paddle parallel to the kayak like you see in the photo there, and then putting your knuckles down, or your hand if that works better for you, and then scooching forward. If you have questions about this right now, go ahead and type them in the chat, and then when we get to the question and answer, we'll talk about them later. Okay, so we've got our kayak out in the water, we're floating. Now it's time for the paddle out. Like the launch, I encourage you to have patience. Look for that window of time to paddle out. The longer you play in the surf, the more time you spend in the ocean, you learn that often waves come in sets. And I like to spend the least amount of energy paddling out because that gives me the most amount of energy for paddling in. So I'll wait out sometimes the set, and I'll let that big set come crashing in and then paddle out on the low. So that's using patience and timing. Technique for paddling out. There's quite a few different techniques, and in one surf session, I might use 3 or 4 different techniques. And your technique is going to depend upon the waves, the size of the waves, the shape of the waves, how fast the waves are coming in toward you. Are they really tightly stacked together, or are there long gaps in between? And then also the type of craft. Today, I've selected one of my favorite techniques to teach. I think it's really fun because we can do it on the sand of the beach, we can do it at home. And those of you that are sea kayakers, I find this to be extremely effective. I'll use it in the short boat as well, but in the sea kayak, it's really effective and it's really fun. So I call this the speed and spear method. And I've got a photo of Jeff here in the sea kayak, and he's going into the spear at the moment. So let me lead you up to this. When we use this technique is when we need to go through the wave. The wave is overhead, and we might be able to get over it. We might consider turtle diving and going under it, but sometimes just the timing isn't there. We need to get through that wave. So one of the things any of you that have played in the surf have found out is that momentum is your friend. Speed is super helpful for getting out through the surf and through the waves. So what we're doing is when we're confronting this wave that's coming at us, that's overhead, we're going to get some speed. So using fast, choppy strokes, chop, 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 3 to 5 strokes, getting as much speed as possible before hitting that wave. After you've generated that speed, then we're going to do a technique called spearing. And the idea is that we are going to pierce through that wave. We're going to spear through that wave with our kayak, with our body. You can see Jeff in the photo here. He has got that paddle. He's getting it down close to his boat, and he's tucking. He wants to make as little a front surface to go through that wave. So there's as little resistance as possible for punching through that wave. So we've got momentum, that's our speed. Spear is the tuck and getting that paddle in the spearing motion. We're gonna practice this soon. And then the stab. So here's Jeff spearing, going through the wave. Notice he's not going over the top of the wave. He's going through the wave. And here he is on the other side. As soon as he's coming through on the other side, he is using his paddle and he is grabbing that water and pulling himself through. His momentum carries him so far, but you guys know what the ocean does. You know how it likes to have its way with you, push you around. So what we're trying to do is grab that water and pull ourselves through the wave. And you're doing that as soon as you're coming through the opposite side. So we're going to give this a go in a moment. 3 key things: speed, using that chop, chop, chop to get that speed, spearing and stabbing. Grab your paddles. Okay, so that wave's coming at us. We need to generate that speed. Chop, chop, chop. 3 to 5 strokes. I'm using short, choppy strokes, especially those of you with Greenland paddles. You'll find that the short, choppy strokes are going to be the most effective in the surf zone. But even those of us with a regular paddle, chop, chop, chop. It's getting all my speed in that forward direction. And now for the spear. So I'm going into, after that last chop stroke, I'm putting as much into that as possible. And then I'm coming into this tucked, protected position. So you notice I'm tucked, my head is low, my paddle, the idea is that it's going to slice through that wave. You could do it like this also, but I'm putting as little front surface area to that wave as possible. Spearing through, and then as soon as I'm popping through the other side, boom, stabbing, grabbing the backside of that wave and pulling myself through to the other side. All right, grab your paddles, let's do it together. So here comes that wave, chop, 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 spear, as little frontal surface, and then stab, pull yourself through to the other side. Your spearing will be anywhere from a half a second to maybe a second. As soon as you start to feel like you're coming through to that other side, you want to get that stabbing motion and really digging in. When I do this, you'll notice my paddle is very vertical. I want as much oomph and power as that. I am going to pull on that paddle blade and pull myself forward. Those of you that are whitewater kayakers are probably familiar with a very vertical paddle stroke. It's what we use on a booth stroke. It's those of you that stand up paddleboard or canoe, it's right there. That paddle blade is going in right next to my kayak and it is pulling me through. So let's do this one more time. Real speed. Here comes that big wave. Chop, chop, chop. Speed. Stab. Whoops. I got my verbiage messed up. Chop, chop, chop. Speed. Spear. Stab. And pulling us through to the other side. Super effective. And it's really cool. It works. It gets you through waves. Sometimes you'll get through waves that you never thought that you would get through with that technique. And I'll give you one other piece to this. You're getting the next level stuff today. When I do that stab, or when I do my spear and stab, I do my warrior cry. So it gives me that extra oomph to help get me through that wave. And I know I'm not going to hear you here because you guys are all on mute, but wake up everybody in your household with your warrior cry. Arr! This is how it works. Chop, chop, chop. Arr! Pulling that all the way from the bottom of your diaphragm, it just helps you give that extra energy, and it lets the ocean know that you're serious, you're a wave warrior, you're not there to be pushed around by the sea, you're out there to surf and play with the sea. So Anyway, encourage you to add that extra little piece, the wave warrior. And if you're surfing with other people, that's highly entertaining as well. I can't tell you the number of times that Jeff and I've been out surfing together, and you know, you see that big wave coming up on your friend, and you're just like, I have to say, we kind of laugh sometimes at each other. I'm like, ah, he's inside. And then I hear him with that wave warrior cry, and as he punches through the wave, and it's really awesome and it's super fun and effective. So I encourage you to give it a try sometime. And if you do, send me an email. Let me know how it works. Guaranteed to make you smile at least. Okay, so there we have one of my favorite techniques for paddling out. Again, very effective in the sea kayaks in particular, but will work in the short boats as well. If you've got questions, jot them down in the chat, and we'll get to them shortly. But now we've gotten out there, it's time to catch a wave, right? That's why you all came. It's why we do it. So catching the wave. The more I surf, the more time I spend in the surf, the better I get at catching a wave. A lot of it comes with experience and being out there, learning how to read the water. And it's all different too, depending upon the day and what craft you're in. In my sea kayak, I tend to like a little lower angle wave. I like a wave that just feathers and breaks a little bit at the top and can give me a long ride. In my playboat, give me that pitching wave and I will huck out there and then bounce around the foam pile up front. So your wave selection and what you like is going to depend upon how you like to surf, and also what type of kayak you're paddling, and then also sometimes the day. So hence why the quiver photo in the entry there was, you know, I'll show up to my surf session with my surf kayak, my playboat, and sea kayak maybe, and a boogie board. So I have something for anything that the sea is going to give me that day. I thought I'd share this photo with you, catching the waves. So this is, I'm in a little playboat here, and difference between these waves is pretty much, and especially looking at those big ones in the background. Fortunately, I'm not out there playing those big ones in the rocks, but here on the inside in the little playboat, I'm looking for a lot steeper wave because it's short. It doesn't have the speed of that 14.5, 16-foot sea kayak. So looking for that steeper wave to drop in on. And again, it comes with time and being out there. So that's your homework assignment. When you can, get out and surf. So for your practice, we'll be doing a little drill here in just a moment. Here are the key points: is choosing your wave. And you can be choosy out there. I encourage you, especially for kayak surfing, don't be out there with a bunch of board surfers where you have to be like, oh, it's my turn, so I guess I got to get this wave, and maybe it's not the wave I want. Find a break where they're the type of waves that you want, and you don't have to compete with other people. Or if you're out there with a few friends, the friends are cool. They're willing to let you be choosy about your wave and find that right wave. Before dropping in on the wave, you want to make sure you look both ways, that you're not dropping in on someone. Could be, you know, someone else is out there, one of your friends. So looking both ways, you see cool things sometimes. One of my most magical surf experiences, I was surfing near home, and I looked to the left, and in the wave I was just getting ready to drop in on, there were two porpoises. They had already dropped in on the wave and were surfing the wave. So yeah, pretty awesome, and definitely reinforces the principle of look both ways, because you never know, it might be another surfer, but you might have a cool sea creature out there in the wave. Paddle to the peak, and this is encouraging you to, as you're seeing that wave coming towards you, is looking for the place where it is peaking up, where it's getting to be the steepest. And sometimes you don't want that, but often that's where we want to take off, is where the wave is at the steepest. And if it's 5 feet over to our right. In the kayak, it's beautiful. We can just take a few strokes over in that direction, paddle to that peak, and it's going to give us a much better drop when we go to drop in, and potentially a better ride. And then the last is that chop, chop, chop. Again, we're talking about those short, choppy strokes. Those chop, 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 fast, choppy strokes to get on the wave. And I say chop, chop, chop till you drop. Well, drop into the wave, that is. But my goal with that is 3 to 5 strokes at the most. If I'm paddling more than 3 to 5 strokes, then that wave was not meant for me. I'm in the wrong position. And do I do it? Yes, sometimes I paddle 10 strokes to catch a wave. It's just the way it is, but really working on that efficiency and positioning so that it's chop, 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 that 3 to 5 strokes, and then you're dropping in on the wave. So we're going to go into practice for just a moment here. Okay, I'm facing you, facing my computer screen, and that's the beach. So the waves are coming from behind me. One of the things that I'll do is I like to sit sideways so that I can look for my wave. I can see it out there. I can look at the rocks, the indicators, and watch what's coming in towards me. So I'm sitting here. I see the wave that I want. I'm going to turn. And then go into step 2, which is look both ways. So I'm looking left, looking right, nobody there. The wave is peaking up a little bit to my right. I'm going to paddle over there, just a few strokes. Now the wave's starting to come up behind me. Chop, chop, chop. And then we're dropping in. The reason I encourage you to work on that turning to watch the wave is I don't know, I don't enjoy always being out there twisting my neck to see what's going on behind me. So I find that it's a lot better. Again, I like to put most of my effort into surfing. So I'm all about efficiency. It's just having my boat sideways. I see that wave coming that I want. Nice sweep stroke. Look left, look right. Chop, chop, chop. And then we're going to be surfing. So, all right, if you have your paddles, if you want to do this with me, we'll do it one more time, and then we'll get into what you're all here for, the surfing of the wave. So I'm looking, I see my wave that I want, it's coming. I'm in perfect position for it. I look left, I look right, there's no one else, there's no dolphins in the wave. Chop, 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 and we're dropping in. Again, those of you that are using the Greenland paddles, chop, chop, chop is going to be your best friend. Those fast, choppy, short, choppy strokes to generate that momentum. Okay, so key points there. You're choosing your wave. You're looking both ways. Paddling to the peak where that wave is getting or looking the steepest, where you think you're going to get in for the best drop, and then chop, chop, chop till you drop. Lots more to catching waves. These are a few key points to get you out there. If you have questions, type them in the chat. We'll get to them here shortly. Now it's time to surf some waves. So surfing, the most important thing about the surf is this right here, that it puts a big smile on your face, that it makes you happy. And if you're out there with others, they're getting this also. There's really no right or wrong way to surf. You can go out there and just bounce around in the surf, and that's totally fine. Some people like to side surf and just bongo slide in. That's fine. Grab your boogie board, grab your fins, body surf, kayak surf, board surf. There's no wrong way to do it, as long as you're being safe for yourself, as well as respecting the health and safety of others. So again, that's following the rules of the road, the etiquette out there, and get out there and do it. There comes a point sometimes where, yeah, some of us want to up that ante. We want to challenge ourselves. We want to work on new skills, and because that's the way we are. Or sometimes fun to entertain others. So that's when maybe we want to start working on technique. And a lot of the technique that we're looking at, or that I find inspiration from, is from board surfing. And then also, I think of it kind of like a skateboarder at the skate park. They have that half pipe and they have the rails. There's all kinds of different shaped things, just like we have all kinds of different shaped kayaks and waves. And so it's not a box, it's very open-ended. And so it's playing around and seeing what you can do. One of the fun things that I've been working on, I like to do in my playboat, is I like to do flat spins, 360 spins. And now I've been working on getting vertical and doing loops in the surf. I don't know. Is it surfing? Sometimes Jeff will say to me, that's not surfing, you're just fooling around. I'm like, so be it, that's cool. I'm having fun with it. And that's what I encourage you to do, is find what gives you this, what makes you happy and what stokes you out to play in the surf, and do that. And then if you want to build some skills and challenge yourself further, there's tons of ways to go. I'm going to give you some resources at the end where you can look for more inspiration as well as for more technique. I had to share that with you. Again, surfing is out of the box. It's what's fun. That was a day Jeff and I went to the beach to go surfing. It was an interesting day for the waves. And we got there and yeah, it was interesting. But we paddled around the corner to where this little cave was just to go take a break. And when we went to take a break there, we found this fun little wave that was going through the cave. And ended up having just a great time spending most of the afternoon there instead of in the surf zone like our plans. But again, that's, get out of the box, find what's fun for you and do it. There's all kinds of possibilities. The technique I'm going to share for you for surfing today is the diagonal run. And the diagonal run is when you're running sideways across that wave. Jeff here, he's screaming like a banshee down the line. He is going super fast, sonic warp speed down the line, and it's really fun. It's a good way to hone in some skills, some control skills, for then if you want to learn to carve, climb and drop, hit the lip. The diagonal run is the skill that's going to lead you there. The diagonal run is also a good way for if you want to get barreled. So those of you that aren't familiar with the barrel is when that wave kind of comes and breaks over your head and you're sitting in the green room, we call it. It's pretty neat experience. So, but getting in that right position, getting that diagonal run, running across the wave gives you that opportunity to maybe get into that green room. The diagonal run is also a great way to make another section and prolong your wave, prolong your ride, make it go longer. So here's Jeff doing the diagonal run. And the key points to this are going to hinge back on some of the things that we worked on and talked about earlier in our session. And before we do that, I'll want to review those key points with you before we hit the video. So first thing is that edge control. So his weight is on the wave side sit bone. So in this case, it's on his right sit bone. So he's weighting into the wave, and that's keeping that left side, it's keeping that shore edge up just enough that that water is not going to trip him, and it's going to keep him the speed to run down the line. So that's the edge. The next thing you see is a stern rudder. He's got that paddle blade in behind his kayak, and he's using that, and that locks him in, and that helps keep him going straight down the line. Because if you did just that shoreside edge, in a moment or two, or excuse me, if you did just that weighting your hip, your sit bone, you'd be on that wave, you'd weight your sit bone, and you would go off the wave pretty quickly, turn off. So what this shoreside rudder does is it locks him in, and it helps him with going straight across that wave. You could think of it, well, it's called a stern rudder, but you think of it like a rudder, those of you who have paddled ruddered sea kayaks, or a rudder on a boat. It helps keep you on track there. So those are the key things, is that edge and then that stern rudder. With the stern rudder, we'll look at torso rotation as well. Oh, I know that, you know, the torso rotation, the holy grail of developing kayaking skills. And you have to have the torso rotation to have an effective stern rudder and have an effective edge. It's just the one doesn't go with the other. It's almost impossible to get that good edge without that torso rotation, and you're going to be a lot more efficient and effective. So anyway, lots of words there. Let's look at a little video clip that's going to show you a practice run of the diagonal run. And then also it'll move into tuning your eyes into seeing what the edge does, and then what the rotation in the stern rudder. So let's take a look at this. So now dropping in and looking at the edge after the drop in. Boom, that edge, that shoreside edge is up. So weighting the wave side sit bone. Now in this one, let's look at that rotation. Boom, rotation, shoreside stern rudder. Holding that torso rotation, holding that edge, holding that rudder. Something you might have noticed in that video is the edge is not like blocked in like that the whole time. There's a little bit of give and take in that. And again, the wave's not super smooth. It's like driving down the highway in your car, using those sit bones, using your hips as shock absorbers. And if you need to, being more inclined to that wave side edge so that you're not getting tripped up. So here are the key points for that diagonal run. And really, all three of these happen almost simultaneously. We've got the edge, we've got the rotation, and then the shoreside stern rudder. We're going to break them down and practice each individual piece. And then when you get out and do it, you might practice each individual piece. And like I said, if you do the edge without the rudder, you're going to pop right off the wave most likely. But we'll do it each piece so that you can get the core pieces of it and then put them all together at once, like when you're surfing a wave. Okay, so first, this is the wave side. This is the beach. I've dropped in on my wave, and I'm going to do my diagonal run. So I'm coming towards you. That edge is on the wave side. So I'm weighting that sit bone. It's my left sit bone. Then getting that rotation, locking in that stern rudder. Let's go to it again, real slow. And I can't encourage you to do this enough at home, watching TV. Once you get this really practiced and dialed in, you'll get it in your muscle memory, and this will accelerate your surfing for running down the line, but even for getting that stern rudder in for making dynamic moves and surfing river waves. So again, we're going to do it a couple times, and I encourage you to put this in a repertoire of, let's say you do flexibility training, weight training, yoga, something. Throw about 5 of these in your workout each day too, and it'll just help to get in your muscle memory, especially if you can't get on the water. So this is the wave side. I'm weighting that sit bone on the wave side. Shore side edge is up. Rotating. Anchoring that stern rudder. Let's go again. Weighting. Rotate. Rudder. Again at that speed. Getting that edge up. Rotation. Anchor. Shoreside rudder. Doing it full speed. Boom. Often when you do it full speed, I find people don't get the rotation in. So I encourage you, especially while you're at home practicing this, if you're practicing it on flat water, is think about that. Getting the edge, rotate, anchor. It'll get into your muscle memory with practice. One more piece. This is your bonus tip. Look where you want to go. Often when we're doing a diagonal run, we're looking down the line where we want to go. Not always the case in surfing. I'm often looking all around because I'm looking for what I can do in either direction on the wave. That's advanced and down the road. For now. And then looking ahead, looking down the line where you want to go. Once you get these, they're super fun. You'll really enjoy them. It's especially in a fast boat, a sea kayak, a fast whitewater kayak, a surf kayak. You just get screaming down the line. That diagonal run is really a lot of fun. And then you'll learn to have variations of it where you can climb up the wave and drop down the wave just with little edge subtleties and with your ruddering, with your torso movements. Those are all in your future down the line. Okay, so there we go. There's key points: edge, rotation, shore side stern rudder. At first, when you get out there, if you've not done these before, you're not going to want to put that shore side stern rudder in. It really is counterintuitive. Often we think we're going to trip ourselves and we're going to window shade, wipe out. Trust the edge. If you have good edge control, that shoreside rudder will work brilliantly for you. If you're using the shoreside rudder and you're tripping, it's because your edge, you need to fine tune that edge control a little bit better. Okay, key points of the diagonal run there. If you have questions, type them in the chat. We'll get to them in a minute, but we need to talk about wipeouts for a minute. So wiping out happens. Best to learn how to deal with it and be prepared. Yeah, that one was a little bit staged, but my key to you is relax. If you're not super comfortable rolling in the surf, get out there and practice it. Tuck, roll, relax. I'll play that for you again. Learn to work with the water. I find people who don't have very reliable rolls do well rolling in the surf because they just relax, or because the water brings them up. So if I can just get them to not think about it, let the water do the work. As soon as you're capsizing, you know, we often know in that shoreside edge, oh, I'm going down, just tuck, roll, and you come up, and you might even come up surfing the wave again. So, oh, I told you I'd let you see that one again. Whoops. Here we go. Easy breezy, work with the water. We could practice wipeouts now if you want. We all go grab the bottle of tequila, get a couple shots in, and then we'll roll around on the floor and pretend we're wiping out. I'll let you do that later on your own. So here's your homework. Practice rolling with the wave. Something I find helpful is releasing the paddle, and that's not on the roll you just saw, but if I'm really getting washing machined around by the ocean, if it's just churning me around, what I'll do is release that paddle with one hand. Because I don't know if you've been there, but you've been there where that it's just pulling on those arms. I do find that a feathered paddle helps with that. It tends to release a lot easier because you don't have the pressure on both sides. But if you're paddling with an unfeathered blade, definitely learning to release that one hand. And then you will end up discombobulated. Paddle be upside down, backwards, whatever. So learning to roll with the paddle in whatever position you might have it in, upside down, backwards. And that's something you can do in flat water, is practice that, just kind of, what's it like falling over in a non-setup position and then getting into that setup position, and regardless of the paddle orientation, rolling up. I'll show you a quick video, and this is because we all are in between swims. No matter how good your roll is, no matter how good of a kayaker you are, rolling in the surf or swimming happens. I've had my deck implode. I've been sucked out of my kayak. I've been holding onto that cockpit combing and getting sucked out of the boat, and there's nothing I could do. It didn't matter. I have a good roll, but swimming happens. So here's something I find helpful for setting up my boats. I do on my sea kayaks, my whitewater kayaks, as well as my surf kayaks. Just a piece of webbing, 12, 18 inches long, personal preference. And I cut a slit in it. And then you'll see what we do with that slit in just a moment. So here's putting it on the toggle of the sea kayak. Just a lot safer and makes swimming a lot easier when you have to do it. So again, you'll get a copy of this if you want to look at that more, and you feel free to throw a question in the chat, or you can email me later. I promised you some resources. So surfline.com, definitely read up on their etiquette, bills of left and rights, and then also the surfology. The more you learn about waves, the more you'll be intrigued with the sea, and the better you'll be able to dance with the sea and surf on them. Surfkayakskills.com's got some great stuff, especially as you're moving on to higher levels of surfing. The book photo right here is an excellent reference book, some good photos, lots of skills and information for beginners through advanced. And then my blog, Woman on Water. I love the surf. I love talking about the surf. I love teaching the surf, as you can see, and I also write about the surf. And I've got a section of my blog, you'll find that on the right-hand side there, it says the Surf Zone, and I put a lot of tips and tricks in there. I try to keep it current. As I find new things, I'll include them. And then usually a few times a year, I'll update it with some new things. Like I did a post on how to get better at surfing when you can't go surfing. So there's a post about that, which is, you know, pertinent to when we end up in these situations like we've been in for the past 2.5 months. But anyway, check it out. And anytime you want, call me, email me. You know, I'm available. I love to talk about the surf and love to share the stoke with you. So hit me up. before we hit question and answer, I'll just share with you a little surf that I had a couple weeks ago that put this on my face. Yep. That makes me smile. So, okay. So well, I hope you have some good questions for me. Melissa, do we have some questions?
Hey, Kate. Yeah, we do already have some questions loaded up, and thank you so much for an amazing presentation. That was so informative, and I know for me, I don't know about any of you out there, but I am like super fired up to get out into the surf right now. So we've been talking about it, husband and I, as soon as we got that opportunity, we are going to come and land in Mendocino and look up you and Jeff and go for some paddling missions with you. Cool. But okay, so we're gonna start off the Q&A with Linda and David. So what I'll do is I will unmute you, and then you guys can go ahead and chat with Kate. And when you're finished, I just ask that you go ahead and mute yourself again when the next person starts speaking, because as much as we like to hear what you're making for dinner or scolding your dogs in the background, we want to keep it smooth and comfortable for everyone listening. So let me find you, Linda. All right, Linda and David, you are on.
Hi, Kate.
Hey.
My question was, it seems like when I'm getting side surfed that I have a natural tendency to feel more in balance with a low brace than a high brace. Is there an advantage to one or the other?
Personal preference. I find the low brace definitely on the lower angle waves or the lower foam piles. The high brace, when that wave or that foam pile is bigger or higher. So sometimes if that foam pile is like shoulder high or over, I'll tend to use that high brace more. But definitely if it's a lower foam pile that I'm side surfed on, I'll use that low brace as well. But really it's personal preference and keeping those shoulders safe either way.
Okay.
All right, good question, guys. All right, next we have Laura Phillips. Laura has a question for you.
So you were talking about how you turn sideways to the waves so that you can watch them, and how do you quickly turn? Do you do that forward sweep or reverse sweep?
A good question. Either one. In a sea kayak, I see you have a picture of a sea kayak there. I'll tend to put that boat on edge and do that forward sweep stroke because that kind of starts giving me momentum in the direction that I want to go. But if you're more comfortable with that reverse sweep stroke, whatever gets you spun around more quickly is the most effective.
Does that answer your question, Laura? Give us a thumbs up. All right. Cool. All right, Marianne King, welcome.
Oh, hello. Hello.
Hi.
Thanks, Kate. I had a question. So I'm relatively new to all of this. I've done a little bit of surfing. I was wondering, are you always using the stern rudder on the shore side? Or is there any circumstance in which you flip to the other side? Like I could see how it could lock you in, but I'm also kind of wondering about the mechanics of that.
Yeah, excellent question. So the problem with the shore side, or excuse me, with the rudder on the opposite side is it's just not as effective. I find that it'll tend to turn me off the wave. It doesn't give me that same effect because I'm already edged into the wave. So I return to my chair, but so if I'm edged into the wave on this side, this is my wave side, and I'm doing that rudder in that direction, my torso is going in that direction. And we often know that where torsos go is where the boat goes. And so I'll find then that that'll often carry me off of the wave. So that's why I find the shore side to be more effective. So on this side, I've got my weight towards the wave, and this just really locks it in, and I can just travel straight down the line with this. Some people will surf waves straight into shore, and that's the case for where it doesn't matter what side. So if often people see kayaks like those long glassy rides, we call it sledding, when you're on that long ride where the wave just doesn't really break, and super fun. And you're not edging so much, so it doesn't matter. You can put that rudder in on either side. You're just using it to help you with going straight. And sometimes people even go from one side to the other side as they're traveling, and that's when you're traveling straight towards shore. One more piece onto that is you will see, and I don't know if there were any photos in this presentation. So this is my wave side. We'll drop in on that wave and we'll turn, and you'll see me move to that direction, and that's when I'm doing a big bottom turn, which we didn't get into this presentation, but often in photos, you'll see surf photos, especially people are using performance surf kayaks, HP surf boats. They'll be dropping in on that wave, and you'll see them with their torso rotated towards the wave. And what they're doing is carving that big giant bottom turn so that then they can get that momentum to go up the face of the wave. And then do other things from there. Maybe a top turn, maybe running down the line. But I think that's way beyond your question. To answer your question is, when you get out there, give that wave side rudder a try, and I think you'll find that it just turns you off the wave.
Got it. Awesome. Thanks. Can I ask another question while I've got my mic unmuted?
Absolutely. Go for it.
I was wondering, so when you're talking about punching through the wave, have you already decided, I'm not going over this thing, it's too big, or I've not hit it at the right time? Or are you, how deliberate is the punching through? And is it is that the technique you're sort of I'm in it and this is happening, or oops, I missed the window and therefore this is the technique? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. Excellent question. So most of the time when a wave is coming at me, I am generating speed, unless I want to back off and let it crash in front of me. So speed, 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 speed for almost any technique you use. And so the punching through the wave, I will go for that technique even if I know the wave's not going to crash on me. If I know the wave's just kind of coming up and cresting and I know I'm going to easily go over it, I still will do chop, chop, chop and get that speed. And I might fudge the spear a little, but I often do that stab on the other side. It's for practice. It gets it in muscle memory. And it's also really fun because I view that wave as I'm getting lots of speed going at it. Boom, boom, boom. And then I have that stab stroke. Sometimes I will, in whitewater, we call it a boof, but it's like a ramp. And so you can kind of jump over the back side of the wave. So as you're learning, I'd say when in doubt, work on that technique. And if the wave's going to crash on your head, it's going to serve you really well. You're going to be protected and you're going to get through it. Or if the wave's not going to crash on your head, it's going to give you good practice with that speed and then starting to learn that timing of when you hit the top of that wave to get a little air.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks. Both great questions. Sorry. Oops. All right. So I'm going to do a last call on questions right now. I did one in the chat, but I always want to give everyone an extra second to be like, oh, well, me. But I don't know, Kate, your presentation was pretty dang comprehensive. So
it's only the tip of the iceberg, you know, I mean, really, but
you got to get out there and practice like you play, right? You know? Yes, Laura Phillips, it was freaking awesome. But yeah, anyways, we're all super stoked to get back out into the surf and play around and get salty and have some fun. But Kate, do you have any closing comments before we sign off for the evening?
It's evening here. Sweet surf dreams. I have to admit, I told you I'm already addicted to surf, but that's my happy thought. You know, they tell you when times are stressful and finding that happy place or whatever. And my happy thought is just running down the line on a wave, carving up and down. And so I encourage you to find your happy place in the surf. And it doesn't have to be big waves. It can be small waves. It could be side surfing, but find that happy place and that place that you just love and can't wait to get back out there again and again and again.
Thanks so much, Kate. And I think that that's just a great way to look at life. Find that happy place and go there in your mind and just dream about being there again and again and again. And especially in our challenging times that we're having, sometimes it's good to just go to your happy place and remember all those good things and nice rides and endless waves. But thank you again for being here, and thank you everyone for attending. This has been just an outstanding experience for all of us doing this webinar series. You know, it's interesting, out of challenge, you sometimes discover things new and different that you probably wouldn't have done before. And, you know, through this, we have collected this incredible, extraordinary team of coaches and paddlers and teachers who have come on to share their experience, their years of training and learning, and share it with everyone. And we have 3 more left until June 14th. And then we're going to, as things progress and transition, and hopefully we'll be back on the water teaching, but we are going to keep this series going. We have been running them 3 days a week, which has been awesome. It's been super fun. We've had such an incredible array of topics, and we have more. We have other instructors, we have other topics, and we want to get to them all. So stay tuned, stay posted, get on our social media, get on our Facebook, Instagram, get on our website, and check out everything we have going on. We have another sea kayaking webinar tomorrow. We have Understanding the Ocean, all about wind, with Laura Zolliger. And if any of you were at her Tides and Currents presentation, I was like, on information. So yeah, that's tomorrow at 4 p.m. So if you want to check that out, please come back. And then next Sunday, do not miss, Darcy Getcher is doing a presentation on her book, Amazon Woman. And her book is actually about her source to sea expedition of the entire length of the Amazon River. Definitely don't miss that, June 14th. And then, yeah, we'll be back at it. So you will receive a link to view this webinar afterwards. So, you know, keep an eye on your emails in the next few days. Depends on how quickly my internet wants to upload it to YouTube. But, you know, we are kayakers, we are not tech people, and we don't live in cities. So things move a little bit slower, and that's just what happens. But I am going to put up right at the end, after we sign off, I'm going to put up a screen that's going to have all of Kate's information. It's going to have our information for Kali Collective as well. So just hang in there, but hopefully we see you all again soon. Thank you so much, Kate. It was a pleasure as always. I can't wait to get out to Mendocino. Me and husband are coming out, and we are surfing up the storm with you two. All right, so take care, everyone, and we will see you. Yes, I'm going to answer one quick question. Yes, there is a one-stop shop to find all the recordings of the webinars. They are on our shop page on cwwcollective.com. I'll put it in the chat really quick. And just go to our shop page, and it's got all the webinars. They're $5, totally worth it. Get them all. All the sales proceeds go to the coaches and the hosts of these webinars. So thank you for supporting us. We appreciate it. You all have a great night, and hopefully we will see you all soon.